Welcome to SI UK India webinar. Thank you for joining us. We are now live with University of Nottingham. Today we have Wyn and Rohil with us. They will be taking us through this webinar and will answer all the questions after the presentation during the Q&A session. So let's start the webinar. Over to you, Rohil.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Yukti. So I think we can start with the presentation. Okay, so I'm quickly going to introduce Professor Wyn, who is in the School of Politics and International Relations. And I'm Rohil, I'm the South Asia International Relations Manager. So quickly going to start with why should you study in the UK? So UK has always been a popular choice for students studying from India. That might be an undergraduate course, a master's course, or a PhD course. Now, what is the best thing about UK? I think it's the diversity. So that's something that you don't get in India. So you'll find a lot of students from different countries. And I think the peer-to-peer learning or even being in that city teaches you a lot. Now, second, I think the professors will have a lot of industry experience. So that's also something that we have seen changing in India, but we don't really have that. So I think their industry experience, and you get to learn a lot from their experiences in the last 15, 20 years. The degrees are recognized globally. So, irrespective of where you want to stay after you finish your course, if you want to come back to India, if you want to stay in the UK for another 2 years, that is now possible with the graduate immigration route, or even if you want to shift to the US, a lot of students go there for PhD. So, that is also a big advantage of studying in the UK. I think another advantage would be that it's a 1 year master's course as compared to Australia or US, where you're spending a lot of money on your living costs and also the tuition fees. So I think it's way more economical when you compare it with other countries. Thank you. Can we move to the next slide? Okay, so I've been an international student, and I think one major difference that I noticed between India and the UK was that most of the degrees are research based. So there's a lot of research that you need to do in terms of your dissertation, in terms of writing the assignments, and a lot of project work. So even there, I think you learn. Your classmate might be from China, and I think they have a different style of working. So all of these things, I think you can. So very, very multicultural in terms of the learning that you can get. And then again, I think living independently is something that you will get to experience. It's not only studying in a different country, but you're managing your time. So you're managing your house. And I think these are the things that you really learn from studying in the UK. Can we move to the next slide, please? So why University of Nottingham? So Nottingham is a campus-based university. It's got two universities. It's got University of Nottingham, Nottingham Trent University, and overall, I think 50 to 60,000 students. So a very student-friendly place to be in. In terms of rankings, we are 114th as per the QS rankings in the world and top 20 in the UK. Very, very good for employability and also research power. So if you're looking to study further, get into research, University of Nottingham is a very good choice. If you're into sports, the university has invested around £40 million in the David Ross Sports Village. So, and that's something that you get as a free service. If you stay on campus, using the sports facilities are completely free. Students also get access to a personal tutor where you can discuss anything with them. It could be apart from your general studies. So thank you. Can we move to the next? So quickly going to pass it on to Wyn from here, who's going to talk about our courses in politics and international relations.
Good, thank you very much, Rohil. Welcome, everybody. My name is Wyn Rees. I'm a Professor of International Security in the School of Politics and International Relations at Nottingham, and I'm also the person who runs our recruitment for the master's programs. I run the programs across the school. So let me start by saying a few words about studying politics. Why is it a relevant subject to be studying in the world today? Well, I think it's the kind of subject that gives you a broader understanding of the world in which we live in. The trends that are going on in the world, the big issues that are dominating the international press. It gives you an understanding really of trends that are going on and how we should really see ourselves as citizens of a kind of global community. And that's something that we at Nottingham are very focused upon, because we have not only campuses in the UK, but also campuses, as Rohil said, in China and in Malaysia. So it gives you a sense of a kind of global community. And I think that's something that Nottingham is very strong in. Thank you, Georgina. So let's move on to talk about why choose to study politics in Nottingham. A few things I'd really focus on there. I think we have staff very much who are experts in their subjects from right across the world. We're not just a kind of British community of scholars. We've got staff from North America, several members of staff in the school from North America. We've got staff from Europe as well as from Asia. So you're getting a variety of different perspectives in the study of politics. And I think that's an enriching experience in itself. We have particular areas of strength in the school in terms of several staff who might focus on a particular area of study, one of which is in the field of security politics, and I'm in that field myself. So we're looking at kind of security issues around the world, issues that impact on the security of citizens wherever they may be living. And the reflection of that is that we have an institute, a group, if you like, that specialise in that work at Nottingham. And that's an opportunity in particular for our postgraduate students to participate in, to join in. We get visiting speakers from around the world coming to talk about their areas of interest, and it gives you a chance to kind of go deeper into subjects and find out some of the latest ideas that are going on in those areas. Similarly, we also have an Asia Research Institute, and that reflects the fact that there are several members of staff in the school, a couple who are focused particularly on India and Pakistan, but we have 3 or 4 more members of staff who teach on China, on the Philippines, and those parts of the world. So we have a lot of interest in the Asia Pacific area, and that's, as I'm going to talk about in a moment, reflected in some of our degree programs. It's also very important to us the quality of teaching that we deliver. Nottingham as a whole, as a university, has a gold standard in the UK for teaching quality. So that's something we put a great deal of emphasis upon. We're also quite a large school, and I think that's a benefit in terms of giving you lots of choice in modules and subjects to study. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about the placement program, so I'll put that to one side for just a moment, and I'll say more about that later. We've got 4 main MA programs in the school that I want to bring to your attention. The first is our MA in International Relations. It's the biggest program that we run, and that's a kind of all-encompassing approach to the study of international politics. It'll give you some theoretical kind of understanding of the different ways people have sought to understand the study of international relations. And then it gives you choice, really, to focus on different areas of study or different areas of the world that particularly are of interest to you. As I say, a broad kind of all-encompassing kind of approach to the subject of international politics. Our second program is in international security and terrorism, and that kind of nestles, if you like, within the field of international politics as a whole, but is a bit more sort of focused upon the security field. And you get an opportunity in that course to look at international security issues. You know, it could be broadly defined. It could be the study of arms control, or the way in which conflict is so prevalent in the contemporary world. But there's also a particular focus in that degree program on the subject of terrorism. We found that to be of huge interest to students. It reflects some of the very prevalent problems in the world today, And so there's a couple of members of staff with particular interests who teach courses related to terrorism within that program. Thirdly, the Asian International Studies degree. I mentioned a moment ago, we've got several members of staff with interest in that part of the world. There's a focus kind of part of that degree program, which is on the study of global Asia. And then that particular degree program also gives you the chance to study abroad as an integral part of the program. So you can go out to either our Malaysia or China campuses and spend a semester studying there. The last program is the MA Politics and Contemporary History. There are very strong linkages between the study of politics and international history. So we've brought those two subjects together, and it's taught across both the politics school and the history school at Nottingham. And it's giving you a chance to kind of develop interests in all of those areas. Let me move on to say something about the way the MA programs are actually delivered. You would study on a degree program, any one of those four that I've just talked about there, you would study 3 taught modules each semester. So in the autumn semester and in the spring semester. And you get a choice between some of the core modules, which might be integral to those programs, and then a range of optional modules, which I'll talk about in just a moment. You would then complete your taught modules at the end of the spring semester, around about May, June time, this time next year. And then you're able to go forward and develop a dissertation of your choice. And that is guided, you're given supervision and guidance from a member of staff who's a specialist in that particular area. So you would choose to write your dissertation, and you would get that kind of supervision from a member of staff to bring that to fruition by the end of August. As I mentioned, there are core modules on some programs and a series of optional modules on others, and it's a 1-year full-time degree program. Let's move on to say something about the options. As I say, we're a big school. We're over 54 members of staff in the School of Politics at Nottingham at the moment. So that gives us the ability to deliver a wider range of different kind of module choices. And these are just a selection of some of the ones that are on offer. So they reflect the kind of research interests of members of staff. And I would emphasize to you that one of the strengths of higher education in the UK is the fact that staff are researching and writing and publishing in the fields in which they teach. And I think that's, Rohill's nodding there. I think that's one of the big things that's really good about the UK, is that you're being taught by people who are specialists and experts in their field, and they're really kind of excited by their subject, and they're trying to communicate that same degree of excitement to you. So those kind of optional modules give you a sense of some of the different kinds of interests and research areas of members of staff in the school. I've also included in the next slide some dissertation titles, because I think it gives you a sense of what kind of subjects people get interested in during their MA and then go on to write their dissertations about in the summer. Those are some of the titles that students currently, we've got about 80 or so students on the MA programs at the moment, and that's just a few of the ones that they're currently developing. Gives you a sense of the different interests, the different topics that students want to take forward into a more specialized piece of work that they can then call their own and develop and use in subsequently in their careers. On to placements. I mentioned that at the outset, but I think it's worth emphasizing. One of the particular strengths, I think, of the School at Nottingham is that we have taken employment very, very seriously and thought, what can we do during a student's time with us to help develop them not only academically, but also in terms of their employment skills and experiences for their subsequent degrees. And so we've developed and then made it something that's available throughout the whole of our faculty, a placement program which allows you as a student to get some work experience, to discover during your studies what kind of an employment world you'd be interested in joining. So we've got links with lots of local, national and international employers, and we give you during your time of study a chance to go out and do placements and get a little bit of a kind of taster experience of those different worlds that might help you decide exactly what kind of an employment future you'd like to develop for yourself. We've got about 100 links across our faculty. Some of those, as I say, are at a local and national level. Some are even at international level. Let me give you one example. We've developed a link with NATO, the international organization, and we've had some of our students going out overseas to Turkey to develop programs there and work with local providers on developing training courses and conferences and seminars that are then organized by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So it's just an example of some of the kind of opportunities. Many more of our opportunities are locally based, with charities, with businesses, the media. It just gives you those kinds of experiences which might help you decide where you want to go in terms of your future. On to the next one, talking about careers. What do people who study politics go on to do? It's always a question I get asked. It's very varied. I can't give you a kind of classic track where every person goes in. People do a variety of different things. All of those links on there, I can say I've taught students who've gone on to develop employment in those particular areas. Journalism and the media is a particularly relevant one because you're being given experience of parts of the world, ways in which the world works, which is highly relevant to the broadcasting media. Also, people who want to go into kind of areas of research, who might want to go on to go into teaching or into think tanks, or those kind of areas also are interested in studying politics. And obviously people who go on to sort of government service, into the civil service, into actually becoming and developing a political career, you'll find have gone through those kinds of backgrounds. There's just one example there of a former Nottingham graduate, and the kind of route that she took into publishing and developing her own kind of interest there. The last one from me is on careers that former students from India have gone on to pursue. And there are some examples of people from the past at Nottingham who've then gone into different areas of work. You can see there broadcasting, you can see government service as well. It can be a very, very fulfilling area of study to then go on to a further area of employment. Right, I'll hand back to Rohil to talk a little bit more about joining and all the different.
Thanks, Wyn. So in terms of entry requirement, what we need is a 60% to a 70%, depending on which university you have studied from. So we have a list of all of the universities, and we've divided those into tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So for example, a University of Delhi or a University of Mumbai would be a tier 1. An amity would be a tier 2. So for tier 1, you need a 60, and for tier 2, you need a 65. In terms of IELTS, what we need is 6.5 overall and a 6 in each of the elements. And tuition fees for 2023 is £21,500. And this might change in the next year, but it's usually not a big change. So we are still open for 2023, and you can apply. So the decision-making time usually is a maximum period of 4 weeks. So within 4 weeks, you'll have a decision whether you've been selected or not. So thank you. Can we move to the next slide, please? So if you've studied at any of these universities, we have a list of 15 universities, which includes Anna University in Chennai, University of Calcutta, Delhi, Mumbai. Then we do not require an IELTS score from you. All you have to do is upload your mark sheets, and you will get an automatic waiver from the university. In the last two lines, CBSE and ICSE students also get an automatic waiver. So if in class 10th or 12th you have studied from CBSE or an ICSE board and scored over 75 in English, we do not require an IELTS exam from you. So just like I said before, University of Nottingham is a campus-based university. So it's a big area of 300 acres. What you can see in the picture is the Trent building, and it's got a beautiful lake over here. So there's a lot to do on campus. And just like it's listed over here, we've always won, I think for the last 10 years, we've won the Green Flag Award. And the university has recently invested a lot of money in the David Ross sports village. So that basically has a lot of facilities, and you can take a membership. If you're staying on campus, it's totally free for you. Thank you. Can we move to the next one, please? So this is just the image of the University Park campus. So you have the Queen's Medical Center on the right. Portland building is where the Students' Union building is. And this is where you have a lot of restaurants. You can shop here if you want to buy any merchandise. Then you have the Cripps Health Center at the back and David Ross Village on the left side. So in terms of accommodations, we guarantee accommodations for all students. For undergrad, it is, I think you get catered options as well, but for postgrad, we don't have catered options. If you apply between, I think, April to July, we guarantee accommodation, and out of the 3 given choices, we'll definitely give you 1. So these are accommodations which are not just on campus. The university also has tie-ups with accommodations which are off campus. So you can go on the website and have a look at all of the accommodations and also budget accordingly, because the price will be given there, whether it's catered, self-catered, and what all things it includes in your agreement with the accommodation. So Nottingham City, it's a very student-friendly city. Like I said before, over 50,000 students. So just apart from studying, there are libraries, there are a lot of restaurants that you can go out to. It's a very nice and a happening place to be in on the weekend. So in terms of transport, we have the tram. So you can always take the tram from the city center to the university. You can take a cab, or what you can do is make a bus pass. So the National Express offers an option to get a bus pass, either a weekly one. If you join the university, I think in the initial welcome week, you get an option to buy a yearly pass. So I think that is at a discounted rate, which you can buy and then you can use for the entire year. So transport, pretty easy. There's also a rail station which is close by. So if you plan to travel to Manchester, London, or Birmingham, it's very easily accessible. So in terms of career prospects, a lot of students ask for part-time work. So you're allowed to work for 20 hours a week, and the university has partnered with a company called Unitemps. So it's not just Nottingham, but I think it's a few other universities as well that have partnered with Unitemps. All you have to do is sign up with them with your CV and a cover letter, and then you can start applying for part-time work. There are also some other opportunities which are listed on the university website. We also have something called as the Nottingham Advantage Award. So this is apart from your basic modules that you will be learning for the course. So if you intend to learn or enhance your employability skills, you can opt in for the Nottingham Advantage Award. So there are, I think, 10 to 15 options, and then you can opt in according to which one starts in spring or summer. and then go ahead and study these modules. We have a very good careers and employability service. So most of the times it's there for each school. So what you can do is take an appointment with them and work on your CV and cover letter format. I think the CV format is different in the UK, so it might take time. So I think my advice would be that when you join the university, this should be in your priority list, that meeting with the careers and employability service. So recently, the UK had changed the graduate immigration route, and now students can work in the UK for 2 years. So there is a fixed cost involved. You can pay £715. That's the fixed cost, and also £624 per year. So once you pay this, that's the immigration health surcharge. You will get an option to extend your visa for another 2 years, which I think is a very good opportunity for you to intern or work at a company. And there is no time limit involved of those 20 hours. And also you don't need a minimum salary. So even if it's a very good opportunity to intern at a startup, I think you should be able to do that to increase your chances of getting a job later. So that's our email ID, and I think we can move ahead. So passing it on to Yukti now.
Thank you for taking out time and giving us this insightful presentation. Now time for Q&A session. I will call out the question from the YouTube chat box. So the first question is, can you provide information for Asian and International Studies MA Masters?
So the MA Asian International Studies Master's degree, that's a relatively recent degree program that we've introduced probably in about the last 7 or so years. It's a degree program which has a single core module. So the core module is called Global Asia, and as its name implies, it focuses upon the study of Asia and issues that are relevant in Asia. It's taught by a specialist of ours, Dr. Carol Sperry, who's a specialist on India herself, particularly on the Indian parliamentary system. So she's been running that core module, and then you would choose in the autumn semester 2 other optional modules to accompany that core module. In the spring semester, you would have the choice. You could either go abroad, as I mentioned, to either China or Malaysia as part of your degree program and study at Nottingham's campuses in those countries. And we have close liaison between the relevant schools in 3 parts of the university. Or as some students do, they choose to stay in the UK and they take a range of optional modules which then complete their taught part of the degree program. They would then go on and do the dissertation, and they would do that again, as I said, under either members of staff based in Nottingham, or if they're overseas, if they've chosen to go to the China or Malaysia campuses, they can stay abroad and do their dissertations abroad as well. It's a flexible program. Nottingham has it calls itself a truly global university, and one of the kind of things we set great store by is giving students the opportunity to study overseas at our campuses and to kind of stay and develop their academic interests in those countries if they so wish. So I hope that gives you a better understanding of what that degree program involves.
Okay. So the next question is, which will be the second degree that we'll get from University of Constance in Germany?
Right, that's quite a specialist question, and I'm a little surprised you've picked up on that question, because that's not something we've been talking about here. Let me say a few words about the Constance degree. We have got at Nottingham a link up with a German university, the University of Constance. And there is an option which I didn't talk about in the program here, but you can find on our website if you're interested. You can do a 2-year master's program, which would involve you studying at Nottingham for 1 year and then going to Germany to study at the University of Constance there. You would then choose whether to do your dissertation either at Nottingham or at Constance in Germany. Now, you would come out of that program after 2 years with a master's degree from both the Nottingham and the University of Constance. Now, I would emphasize to students who are listening in today, it's only 1, 2 or so students take that option each year. It's a very unusual specialized option, and that's why I didn't talk about it in my general presentation, because it is so unusual. But it does exist, and if you're interested in doing so, then you can get in touch with me and I can help you, walk you through the actual process of applying for that. But it isn't something that very many students take up the opportunity to do.
Scholarships for second MA in English.
Scholarships, we have the Developing Solutions Master Scholarship, which is a fully funded scholarship. So that's 50% or 100%. And there's a regional scholarship, which is called South Asia Postgraduate Excellence Award, which is between 4,000 to 8,000. And students can apply once they have an offer from the university by answering 10 to 15 questions. So the deadline for this year was 17th of May, but obviously it's an option for students who are planning to apply for the 2024 intake.
How do you select applicants? What aspect do you look for in an application in international security master degree?
Shall I take that? We'd be looking for a student who has, as Rohil outlined, met the academic kind of preconditions of the degree program. So that would be a factor. You get an opportunity in your application to say also why you want to study that particular subject in the UK. And in that part of the application, we'd be looking for somebody who's thought through, why, to what extent do I have interests in this particular subject? What has led me to have those kinds of interests? And what would I think of doing with this kind of a degree program after I finished? Because I think all those kinds of questions give us a sense that you have thought through and have good understanding of why you might want to do a program like this, and then the value of that program to your career aspirations. So those are the kinds of things we're looking out for. When it comes to the study of the dissertation, then sometimes you can see, in an application, a student has had a long-standing interest in a particular area of international politics, and they want to take that further at master's level and study it in even more depth. Other people come to a degree program at master's level without perhaps ever having done a dissertation before, or being clear what kind of a dissertation they actually want to do for their master's degree. And that's absolutely fine. We find probably about 2/3 of students develop a particular area of interest to write their dissertation during their master's course at Nottingham. And so it's exposure to different kinds of issues, to different taught modules. Those are the kinds of ways in which a lot of students then decide, right, it's that particular subject I would like to do at master's level and dissertation. Now, a dissertation is worth, if you like, 3 modules in credit terms. So it's quite a big and important part of your master's degree. And it does give you that opportunity to really, research a topic in much more depth, to think about how you want to develop your arguments and how you want to make a piece of work something that you could potentially take to an employer later and say, this is a good indication of the kind of quality that I can deliver as a potential employee for you in the future.
Okay. So next question is, what is the fee structure of International Relations MA?
Rohil, can you pick that up?
Yeah, sure. So I think that is £21,500. And before leaving, students need to pay a cash deposit, which is confirmation of acceptance of studies. So that £2,000 is deducted from your overall fees, and then you need to pay that fees in 3 installments. So that is October, January, and April, which is 34%, 33%, and 33%.
Can we get job easily after completing masters in international security?
Let me have a go at answering that. That's quite a difficult question to answer, because it really depends what field of international security you want to go into. I would start by saying that Nottingham has a very strong reputation, as Rohil talked about earlier, for graduate employment. In the UK, it's one of the top universities in terms of people transitioning from academic study into full-time employment. So we're taken very seriously by employers, but the field of international security is a very big and very broad one. So it would very much depend where you want to go with your degree afterwards. An example would be, if you studied international security, would you like to go home to your home country and work in one of the security services back home? In which case, there will be certain requirements that your own country will have in regards to how you get into maybe it's military, it's intelligence services, businesses that work in the field of international security, think tanks, etc., etc. Every country is going to be a bit different and a bit unique in how it kind of develops its own security apparatus and the kinds of requirements it asks of its citizens to work in that sphere. My own experience, if I can venture that for a moment, is I did a master's degree at a British university and then went to work in part of the British intelligence service because they were interested in the kind of subjects I'd been studying at master's level, and particularly the dissertation that I had written at master's level. And that then led me to eventually decide, right, I want to go into academia and into teaching. But we've got, some links, for example, with some government agencies which have allowed our students to do kind of placement programs with government agencies and then transition from that into full-time employment. So what I'm offering to you, I suppose, is a sense that this is quite a specialized field, that there is no standard kind of way of going into a job in international security, unlike something like accountancy or something like that, where there's a particular training which prepares you for a particular job. This is more where your interests lie and developing then the particular employment area that you want to then seek to get into. And that's very much up to the individual and taking that forward. But the qualifications that we'll give you, hopefully, will enable you to be taken seriously in that field.
What are the spouse visa rules for Indians currently?
Rohil.
So I think that's a recent change, and someone's been watching the news. So January onwards, students will not be able to bring a dependent with them. But till now, students, if they're planning to go in the September 23 intake, I think they still can take dependents with them. So this tool only applies with effect from January 2024. But before that, for this intake, that rule is not there.
Okay. And what about the part-time jobs in Nottingham?
Yes, so part-time jobs, I think I already covered in that slide. So Unitemps is our partner for all part-time work. And there's also an opportunity to become a student ambassador. So even this year, we've got, I think, 14 or 15 student ambassadors. So that is a way where you can study and also do a little bit of part-time work. So you talk to prospective students, you show them the campus to students and parents. So I think that also is a great opportunity where you can like earn 12 to 13 pounds an hour, and you don't really have to go anywhere. It's all virtual meetings, so that is an option. During Christmas time, there are a lot of opportunities in terms of catering, working at a cafe. So a lot of opportunities at the city center and also on campus.
I have covered all the questions from YouTube chat box. Thank you for answering all the questions so well. Do you want to share any final words?
Rohil, do you want to start and then I'll follow on?
Yeah, no, so thank you so much for joining the session, and you have our email IDs here. So if you have any questions regarding the subject area, you can email to Wyn, or anything regarding entry requirements, scholarships, everything else. Please feel free to write an email, and we can always have a chat.
Thank you. I'd like to echo those thanks there. It's been good to speak to you today about the School of Politics at Nottingham and hopefully give you a sense of the diversity of the courses that we offer and the fact that we're quite a big school with quite a lot of overseas students, a lot of experience of working and supporting overseas students. So we very much hope that we, in our presentation, have given you something that will be of interest to you, and we hope to have the chance of welcoming you to Nottingham in the years to come. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your valuable time. All the audience, if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact SI UK India office. For more update, do follow us on our social media handles. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye.